Dan, thanks so much for being here. I appreciate you being on the podcast. For those of you out there who don't know who you are, can you just give me a brief rundown of who Dan Schlein is?
Sure. My name is Dan Schlein. I am a financial advisor. I grew up right in Williamsville, and I went to Niagara University, and I serve all sorts of amazing business owners and entrepreneurs and clients, not only in this area, but also countrywide. I think I'm licensed in something like 30 states now, which is kind of cool.
And it's been a process to get to the 30 licenses and all of that.
Sure.
What got you into financial advising initially? How did you find yourself on this path of teaching people about finance?
Yeah, I mean, every time I get a question like this, I always think like I could go back 8 years and be like, I started at this firm, and that's what I did. But I think like really when it dawned on me that I actually liked money and some of the things that if you're good with it, you can actually not only help others, but do great for yourself and do great for the community is when I was 12 years old. You
That
get
young, that
when
young.
I was 12 years old. I got a paper route, and during this paper route, the first thing I did was I wrote everybody in my neighborhood because it was right in our area in Williamsville, a letter, and that letter said something along the lines of, "I'm Dan Schlein. I'm your new paper boy. Here's a picture of me. Um, I'm 12 years old, but I want to make two commitments to you. The first commitment is I'm going to deliver your paper before 7 a.m. because I know people love that was one of the biggest things I heard from like people that get a paper was like they 6:30 something like that. They're always looking to have the coffee, open the paper, and then the other one was I want to just make sure they know where it's going to be, so I put it on the same place on your front porch every single morning. And for about 3 or 4 months, I delivered the papers, same place before 7. I pretty much got before 30 and just crushed it at that point. And after 3 4 months, it was the holiday season. It was winter, and so what ended up happening, I won't get into how it was actually the year of the October storm, which was a really, really fun for me when it was like 3 feet of snow and it was all sorts of stuff going on and so on. But I tried so hard to keep my commitment, even though I think there was so much snow that maybe I wasn't in the same place either way. And so the Buffalo News actually gave me calendars to give out to everybody. And at that point, instead of just putting in the sleeve and giving them in their newspaper, I decided to go door to door. And so I knocked on everybody's door, and what happened was I asked for feedback. I wanted to introduce myself, and then each one of them, I didn't realize this at the time, pretty much was like, "Thank you so much. Here's some good feedback." And wait 1 second, let me go get you some money. And they actually tipped me $5, $10, 15, 20. Somebody gave me a 50. I almost started crying. I was like, I didn't even know what this looks like. This is
It was
great.
$1 million back then
Easily.
for you,
It
right?
might have been 2 million, which was cool. And then at that point, I came home after a night of knocking on doors, and I had this big sweatpants pocket of just cash. And my mom goes, "Hey, Dan, did you make any money?" And I said, "No, I didn't." And she laughs because you could see that like there had to be some money in there. So I put it on the table, and the two of us count it, and it was about $600,
Wow.
which was crazy.
For a 12-year-old,
A
that's
12 year
all the
old, like
money in the
20 years
world.
ago, is
That's incredible.
that's actually I'm about to turn 32, so almost exactly 20 years ago. Um, really, really, really cool. So at that point, my mom sat me down and said, "Hey, tell me a little bit about taxes. Hey, all this isn't yours specifically because some of it has to go to taxes, but also like how savings works and how you can't just spend everything and so on." So she took about 500 of it off the table. I had $100 in my hand, which was more money than I've ever seen in my whole life. And I go, "Cool, I'm gonna buy a bike." And she laughed out loud because she's like, "Okay, but before you do that, I just want to ask you one more question. If you didn't make another dollar, would you still buy the bike?" And I like pondered that question for a while, probably a whole 30 seconds. And I was like, "Okay, cool. I know what I'm gonna do." And so what I did was I took $50, I put it in my room, and $50 I bought rollerblades. So now I was rollerblading around town, doing the paper route and so on. And fast forward a little bit of time, my dad was always reading the newspaper. Older school guy, always had his knee up with the coffee and the newspaper open. And I asked him, I was like, "Dad, what are you doing?" And he goes, let me show you. He puts the newspaper on the table. He's looking, and he's like, these are all the stocks that you can actually own. I go, oh, what's a stock? So he teaches me what a stock is. Stock just means ownership in a company. A company does good, you make more money. Company does bad, you lose some money. And so he's like, you can actually watch your money go up over time if you're positioned in the right types of stocks. So he goes, why don't you pick stocks? And as a 12-year-old, I only knew two companies on the board. One was Hershey, the other one was Disney. And that was my road to being able to start to save, my road to investing for the first time, and my road to like my first handful of paychecks for those 3-4 months. And ever since then, every time I made a dollar, whether it was at Tim Hortons, whether it was landscaping, whether it was the lemonade stand, whether it was helping others do something, whether it was bar backing, whether it was working events, the list goes on. Every dollar that I would make, I would literally be like, all right, I gotta save some, I gotta invest some, gotta make sure did the taxes come out? Okay, cool.
Wow.
And every single dollar for literally what it's been 20 years now. I've been doing that, and so about 8 years ago, 12 years ago, I went to college, Niagara University, got a degree in marketing and finance, got a MBA with a concentration in financial planning and strategic marketing. And all that to say, I took my master's year to not only learn from school, but also not only have internships at different places, but try to figure out like where I wanted to like help people with money decisions. And after some internships, after interviewing pretty much everywhere, I decided that based on how I felt in the room and in the office, how entrepreneurial I thought that the company was, and how they led with education, that Alliance Advisory Group at the time, which right now we're rebranding actually Alliance Financial Network,
Right.
which by the time this pops out, I'm sure that will be the name. But either way, and I joined about 8, almost 9 years ago now. And so kind of a long story, but that's really the journey. And now I get to do what I literally did as a 12-year-old, which was learn how to automate and save and invest and grow money and utilize money properly. And all I've done is just taken that knowledge to probably 10 levels from there. And now I could show people some cool ways to do that.
That's awesome. It sounds like you had good mentors to help steer you the right way. Your parents were teaching you about taxes and stocks early on. And not everybody gets that, and now you're kind of that guy
Sure.
for other people. But one thing you said that really stood out to me was when you were 12, you wrote these letters.
Yeah.
Who gave you that idea? What, is that just how Dan always worked, or did somebody give you that idea to write those letters?
Most of my ideas at that point most likely came from my mother.
That's all right.
I think it was her idea. She was always clever like that. I think she knew I was gonna get tipped. I didn't at the time. I think she knew I was gonna like play
Right.
into me being 12 and cute and hardworking. Um, and so on. And yes, I it was hers.
So writing letters now as business owners, like as you get older, I'm sure you
Sure.
still do this. Like I
Yeah.
just find that the extra personal touch, and I've seen you do it in many ways, but the extra personal touch in any industry just goes the extra mile. So it's crazy that you were doing that as 12 when there's
Yeah.
business owners who don't even think of doing that. Jesse Itzler, who lived with David Goggins,
Yeah.
he's a
I
big name
love this
CEO.
answer, absolutely.
He preaches how he loves handwritten letters, and what
Sure.
you said, you're doing that at 12. That's quite the lesson at 12. So kudos to you for stepping up and doing that. But you had some good financial advice. What makes this meaningful for you to be helping people now that you've had that financial advice growing up, and then you learned even better skills from going to school? What makes it meaningful doing it now for other people?
Yeah, I mean, I've always tried to pay it forward. What I really mean by that is like, if I know something that can help people, I can't just like hold it in. Like, if I had the cure for something great, if I had the cure for cancer, I wouldn't just like keep it in my pocket and not share it with anybody. And so I know that I can make a massive impact on people, showing them how to invest their money, grow it, leverage it, um, save, automate, build different systems, like do all these different things, protect what they're doing, like all these different things. And it's like I can't just keep it in. And so my parents taught me by paying it forward that they learned over the years. And my mom at that time was going from being in banking to now she is a mortgage underwriter. My dad was a CPA and still
Okay.
is. He retired. She's getting close to retiring, and they were both business people, and they were really hard workers. And so I've learned from them to grind it out, keep going, keep moving forward, no matter what happens. And if you have the means, whether it's the knowledge or the capacity or even monetarily to pay things forward, you should. And so I just mirrored some of the things that they do, and I try to do it to the absolute extreme. And so that's why I love having these types of conversations, because if there's like one person that has one takeaway, it's worth the time.
Right. Absolutely. So you've built quite a successful financial advisory business yourself. You're building a
Sure.
team. You have tons of clients here in Buffalo. People know who you are. You're out on social media. I've always known you as a person who's networking, connecting. Is that innate? Is that from your parents as well? Is it something you learned? And tell me a little bit about why you're a connector and why you're a networker.
Yeah, so before I had like any confidence in what I was like doing for others, and I was always like learning from others and trying to figure out how to help people and so on. But before I was like, hey, I'm the guy who can help you do X, Y, and Z. Before I had that conviction, that confidence, I could tell you, hey, I've done this 100 times. Let's do it this way. Before all of that, I realized like I had to just keep getting in front of people and getting them to like me in different ways and trust me in different ways. And I was like, how am I going to be able to do that? And so what I thought would be valuable for others was like, maybe I couldn't help them with their money yet, but maybe I can help them with something else. Like, how can I pay whatever it is forward? And so if I'd meet with somebody like you, Matt, I'd be like, okay, like, what does Matt do that's like a superpower? All right, he's literally like an amazing videographer where he can help do X, Y, and Z. Well,
Thank you.
what are other people that I might know that if I connected the Matt and there was a chance that he had a conversation with them, that he'd be able to serve them in some capacity. So I'd be like, okay, you need to meet X, Y, and Z person. And so I would think of one, two, five people that each person I would met that has a superpower that they could serve them would probably be a good fit. And I would start with, is it a personality fit? Like would Matt get along with that person? And if you would get along with them and there's a potential opportunity for you to serve them or them serve you, why wouldn't I spend 45 seconds shooting you guys in a quick text or an email or LinkedIn message to each other to get you together? Or next time we hang, I'm like, hey, Matt, want to go to, I don't know, have coffee with Noah or something like that. And all of
Right.
a sudden we're all together. And so I literally just started with like, oh, wait, I know so and so and so and so. Let's just do like one. And then it got to the point where my network started getting stronger and bigger. And so I was like, man, you have to meet this person, and this person. And then you're like, hey, Dan, thank you so much. Like, I just got a client. How did you know? And I'm like, wait a second. Because I knew you guys would get along. I was pretty confident. You guys both love music. You both love to run. At least you would be friends.
Right.
And then if business happens, like it happens every single day, then amazing. And so I would take that like framework per se. And every time I would meet somebody, I wasn't trying to talk about myself. I was trying to learn about them as much as possible. So there might be a way I can help. And at first it was just a connection or a networking event they should go to or a video they should watch. Maybe I'd think of them and shoot them over something motivational or something that they should read. Maybe I send them a book. And it just started stemming and stemming and stemming. And then when the confidence and conviction of what I actually would be able to do for that person, this type of business owner, this type of professional, this family, this person retiring, whatever it is, I was like, wait a second. Not only do I want to still make those connections, still send the book, still do that, but I also might be able to be an amazing resource for them too. And so I would at least, at the very least, offer up, hey, if there's anything I can do from this standpoint or that standpoint, maybe it makes sense to continue that conversation.
Right. That makes so much sense. And as a young entrepreneur myself, I'm always looking for ways to do more of that. And you're one of the people that I regularly see do that. And I take little notes. But for anybody listening, what advice do you have for people who might not be doing enough of that yet or might not have that innate sense of it? You said, why wouldn't I send the 45-second text?
Yeah.
There are certainly people who don't have that innate thought of, I'm just going to send the 45-second text. What advice do you have for those people?
I think it goes right back to what we were just talking about before this, which was like do something that like not everybody's doing. An example could be writing a handwritten note. So like let's just say we just got to meet each other for the first time and we had coffee or whatever it is we met. And there's something that stuck out in our conversation, like, wow, you really like that band, or you really like the run. That's so cool. I might write a handwritten note to you and just be like, hey, really glad we spent that time together. Really glad I got to know you. Dude, it's amazing that you're literally running an ultra again. Or, I don't know all the fun running terms, but something
You're
with a
good.
lot of miles. And just maybe I send my favorite a $5 gift card, or I don't know, 25% off to a store that has really awesome headbands that are shoes for running, or something that is gonna connect to them to make their day a little bit better. And I think what happens is like I know people that will go on like have 5 meetings in a day, or one, or 20, and then just forget about the conversations that they had. Never really took notes because no one brings a notebook anymore.
Right.
Or they have their AI bot or whatever crap they're using, and then they never review that anyways. And so what ends up happening is you go like hundreds of meetings without actually making that big of an impact, and like your energy can only go so far. If you
Mhm.
meet me, there's probably going to be some energy, and you might be like, I remember meeting Dan, kind of a cool dude. But if I sent you something meaningful, if I made it a meaningful connection, if I was like, oh my gosh, it's like ringing in my head. It's kind of like in the scary movie when you're like, please don't go in there. It's like that's the book you need to read. Let me
Yeah.
send that book to you. Or next time I see you, I'm gonna bring the book because I already have buy back your time or whatever it is
Right.
that I think would be a game changer for you. And I think if you spent that 45 seconds after every single meeting just debriefing, like, what did I learn from that person? What didn't I ask them? Should we do it again? Like, do I have more questions? Like, what value can they provide to others? You might think of a connection. You might take the time to add the note, or write them a message, or at the very, very least, not shoot them a text like everybody else would. Hey, thanks for the time. Maybe you do a voice message.
Right.
You're one of
Yeah,
those people who
I'm
love the
huge on
voice
the
message. Those
yeah,
are
I love
great.
them.
I got one this morning actually on LinkedIn. It's the first time in a while, and I was like, I answered because I go, thanks for shooting me the voice message, man. Let's chat further because
Right.
it was a voice message. So
Yeah, and frequently voice messages take less time than typing up the proper cold message on LinkedIn. But if you spend that 45
it's
seconds
true.
speaking into your phone, people are way more likely to respond. And it's also more thoughtful, right? Like you took the time to be present and send that rather than
Yeah.
doing 12 things and I'm typing while talking to Dan and instead I'm sending that voice message, which I love those, but I also understand there's a little bit of ego that you got to get over if you're hesitant about the way your voice sounds or whatnot. I just my rule for that is you just send it. You don't listen to it back. You know what you said, just send it. If as long as it's
Yep.
good, you're not gonna say anything too crazy. But go ahead.
Yeah, one thing I'll add, it's kind of a funny story about myself, is in like growing up in grammar school and stuff like that, I never was like really, really strong from like a grammar standpoint. Like I was like, do I put the comma here? Did I
Hmm.
spell that right? And like honestly, wasn't a strength of mine. As you could probably tell, I was probably better at the numbers than that stuff. But so I fast forward, and like people would always be like, "Oh yeah, I send 100 LinkedIn messages a day, or I send all these emails or all this stuff." And this was like almost 10 years ago when I started, and people were telling me this. And I'm like, you know what's really funny is I don't even know if I don't know how to use like Grammarly or whatever to check my grammar. So you know what I would do? I would just figure out a way to get in front of them or get on the phone with them.
Hmm.
So like instead of that, I would do when voice messages came out, I was doing them. The reason why is because I was like, if I try to type this out, we might have a problem. They might be like, is he mad at me? Like, what's going on? Or something like that. So all I would try to do is get to the next step and get it like because my energy comes across when I speak,
Yeah,
not when
absolutely.
I write. And
Okay.
so if you're like, hey, did he mean it that way? Like it came off a little weird. Like I don't know how it came off. I have to say it to make it come off. And so I
Right.
always just learn that for myself. Let me just go the extra mile, and oh wait, that group is getting together every Tuesday morning. Maybe I should just show up Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
Or whatever, instead of shooting all these messages that I don't know if they're ever gonna get read. Did they just get brushed over? Did the person want to respond? Like I don't really know. It's like let's actually get in front of them or figure out a way to get your energy across so you can have a good conversation and make a meaningful impact.
Right, absolutely. We've been talking a lot about serving others, and I think the way that is best to serve others is if you serve yourself first. You've got a lot of self-development habits and techniques that you do Tell me about serving yourself. How do you take care of yourself and get the most out of the life you're living?
That's a great question. What happens in my world is I get really, really busy and we serve a lot of great clients and so on, and then you like forget about yourself a little bit. So we have to sometimes take that back and say, okay, how can I set myself up for success so I can bring 110% today? And if you don't serve yourself, then you'll never be able to bring that. I mean, that's something that's apparent when you don't get the right sleep, when you're not eating the right amount of this, and your energy's off, and all these other things. What happens, right? Your clients suffer, your relationships suffer, your body suffers.
Hmm.
And so I'm definitely not perfect in any way, shape, or form, but what I try to do is a couple things. I try to wake up at least 2 hours before the first thing that I have to do, minimum. I made a rule. It was that in COVID because I can get to the gym and do a bunch of stuff and so on. Then when I started to work out at home, I shrank that. I didn't like it. I needed the more time again. And so let's just say I have something at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's a breakfast or a meeting or whatever. 6 o'clock. I can't go any later than that. Reason is because I need time to be quiet and meditate and think and breathe and journal. Um, Honestly, sometimes I do all of those things I just said in like a 20-30 minute session, and sometimes I do none of it. Maybe I just sit there with a cup of coffee and just breathe a little bit, think through my day a little bit, maybe write a couple things. The other thing I do, no matter what, at a minimum, is workout.
Okay.
It could be 20 minutes quick, or it could be an hour and a half workout session at the gym. I have to get a sweat and I have to move my body. I always told myself like I work out because I just eat a lot, and if I don't work out, I'd just be like way over the top weight wise. But I realize it actually keeps my mind focused. It keeps my if I do something hard first thing in the day and sweat it out, I feel like I'm a lot more locked in and have a lot more energy throughout the day.
Do you find that working out maybe it is more meditative for you? For me, it can be.
Yeah, for the most part, I always try to like get as focused as I can to like let out as much energy as possible during those workouts, and it could definitely turn into a meditative state. It could definitely like make my mind kind of turn on in different ways and process things differently. It's pretty cool.
Very cool. So we talked a lot about the working out, serving yourself, but you're into fasting, cold plunges, like you're into deep
Sure.
in the self development stuff.
Yeah.
What got you into that? And obviously your parents were financial gurus to begin with, but
Sure.
not necessarily self development, focus.
Yeah. So it's funny, like I feel like a lot of people are looking for like the magic pill, the if I finish you finish this, you're gonna lose 10 pounds type of thing. And so there's definitely been in times where I'm like, you know what, I need to do 30 days of something crazy or 75 hard I've done or like
Right.
whatever. And I think what happens is like you get all this momentum and you like drop weight and you're like you're superhuman and all this stuff. And then what happens is like it's not sustainable. And so it just like goes back up. And so your weight looks like this or whatever. And so there's certain things that like I'll try and be like, interesting, but what part of that can I sustain? I take a cold shower every day. The cold plunge has been so cold outside, I don't even bring it outside for the last month or two because like it would have just froze and I wouldn't be able to
Immediately.
get in there. Um, I love going in my hot tub, which I don't want to talk about because that actually broke yesterday. So
Oh,
I have someone
jeez.
coming out for that. Um, and fasting has always been something if I like need to cleanse the body and so on, like I'll do a fast. I used to do it because I was like, maybe it'll help me lose weight, all this other stuff. But then now I really just do it to like bring peace. Like, how do I do as much as I can to bring like peace to myself and my body? More recently in December, I hired somebody by the name of Cal. He's like my, let's call it like fitness coach. So I track all my workouts on an app that he oversees, all my food. We're looking at blood sugar now. We're going a little bit
Wow.
deeper because
Yeah.
I've realized I've like done a good job staying really consistent with working out. I've done a good job staying really consistent with business. But what I haven't been as consistent on is like how to stay in the best shape. Even though I work out a lot, I eat a lot, and some of those tendencies and habits aren't always the best. And so he's kind of helped me stay not only consistent, but also like to weave into how like my day to day works. So like if you looked at my calendar, it's like wait, Dan's on a podcast, like 6 meetings. He's like, got this, and this at breakfast, and the list goes on. And it's like, how do you stay consistent eating and eat well during like such a hectic time?
Right.
And you're going to bed at different times, and like the list keeps going. And so he just played into that. He's like, these are the eating windows. This is the type of stuff you want to focus on. This is how you do it. And didn't get like so strict where it's like you have to eat chicken and rice every meal. It's more of like, all right, this is how your day usually works. How do you like do quick preps and have quick like healthy snacks and really so on and so forth. So I've been on a really good track to keep that consistent, and that adds in different supplements that like my body has a little less of, or needs a little bit more love on. And so it's just really how do we keep it consistent. So that's been where I've been educating myself the most, and then second to that is focusing. Yeah, probably even like in parallel with that is focusing on my relationship. I was able, I'm blessed because about 3 weeks ago, I got engaged,
Yeah, congrats on that.
which is
That's
really
huge.
cool and really exciting. And so that's been also a huge, I mean, it's been a few years of us focusing on how do we be better for ourselves to be better for each other. I think the better you are for yourself, the better you will be for others. And so that's been really, really magical and really, really cool to just see that. And like, just like anything, it's not always super easy. Working out every day, eating well, keep staying in a healthy relationship, running a business, all this stuff is not easy. But like, if you could do some of this stuff consistently, it just becomes easier and easier, and hopefully it compounds for you and gets better.
Well, one thing that you said about working out paralleled so much your financial strategies, which is, you can't lock yourself into a box fully.
Sure.
There might be a time and a place to do that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not the financial advisor, but
Sure.
what you're saying about working out is very similar to what I've heard you talk about finances, where you can't be rigid with it, and that's cool that I see that parallel, and I'm sure you do as well, right? Like you probably instruct people very similarly as your coach Cal is, right?
Yeah, that's true. Actually, so I interviewed a few people to hire for like the nutrition and the fitness and so on, and he like mirrored very similar to how I coach. So I was like, oh, let's do it. But I think on that specific thing, if you're looking at your money for a second and you're just like, the only way I'm going to be able to like do all these things is if I just spend way less, then that would be like all you have to do is fast.
Right.
Like,
Just stop
hey,
eating.
just don't eat. You'll lose weight. And like, that's not ever going to work ever for a long period of time. Sure. If like, I don't know, February, you're like, you know what, honey, we have to lock in for a month. Sure. For a month, guess what? You saved money, but like, you can't do that forever.
Right.
And so like, what you have to do is enter into your world, understand what systems you can put in there, how to make it as easy as possible to do the things consistently without having to do that. And so if, it's almost like if I told you, hey, if we build the system right, it won't feel any different. It won't even look really different. But then if we take a step back and we go out maybe 6 months or 12 months or a couple years, it'll be drastically different. You'll be down 30 pounds. You'll be in your fighting weight again. You'll be running all the time and stuff. And it won't be like that day to day grind hard work because we put the right systems in place. We put the right things, because I've done this hundreds and hundreds of times with people with inconsistent income, with multiple different streams of income, different people. And if I could do that with just like Cal did it with me, like he's done it with somebody way older than me, way younger than me, and different stuff, he knows the premise of like how it works. That's how I serve people financially, is I come into their world, into their systems, and I just tweak them to make them a little bit better.
Right. And so you got these pillars, right? You got the health, you got wealth, and your relationships, and you're building that. In 10 years or so, when you're 40, almost 42, right? Well, where do you see yourself? How do you see yourself progressing and maintaining some of the habits that you're building now?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with in my relationship first. We're probably going to get married either later this year or early next. We're going to some venues soon, so we'll figure out what we could do date wise. We're getting excited there. We'll probably have a couple kids. That'll be progressing, and hopefully, we teach them some of the lessons that we got taught. It's just really cool. I think what I love so much about Cassie is she didn't have the same upbringing, and like her mom was actually in banking and her dad was actually in construction. And so she's the one who's like, if you got the leaky faucet, she's like, let me go fix it. Where I'm the one who's like, there's no way I can even fix it. I don't even know where to start, right? It's like sometimes with people with their money decisions, it's like they don't like talking about it. They don't know how to do it, so they take a step back. That's me with fixing anything, painting anything, doing anything in that world. And so she kind of leans into that, which is awesome. So 10 years from now, the two of us will be married with kids. We've already talked about in the next few years, maybe getting an upgraded house in the area with a little bit more space and some of that cool stuff. So that'll be really, really cool to see come to fruition. I think health wise, one of my biggest things is how do I like reset the standard? And in my mind, that actually means like lower the my weight a little bit, get into a little bit more. I call it like fighting weight. Like I can do a little bit more. I can go for a run real quick and not be like dying the whole time, and some of those other things. And so that's what I've been progressing towards is just having a different standard when it comes to that. So 42-year-old Dan's gonna look back and say thank you. 32-year-old Dan, you put the work in to make it a lot easier to keep that standard up because then it just becomes natural.
Right.
Business wise, our clientele is amazing. I'm so grateful to be able to serve the people that I mean every single day I get to meet somebody new and like go into a new situation and bring value in different ways. A lot of people that own businesses, a lot of people that are building wealth in a lot of different ways, like real estate and business, and the list goes on. And if I had to fast forward 10 years, all it is going to be is a handful more advisors, couple amazing. My practice manager, Sam's probably going to be running her own admin team. My associate Nick's probably going to be mentoring and bringing on multiple different advisors, and I will hopefully at that point just be mentoring them a lot and dealing with very specific types of clients like I love to do every day. And so it's interesting because it's like I'm putting the building blocks in place for like future me, and all I'm doing is learning and making adjustments, failing, taking two steps forward, hopefully, and one step back, two steps forward, one step back. And so whenever I have that one step back, which is probably the biggest lesson where you learn the most, and you fail and you cry and you feel like you can't get up, whatever that might be in your world in any of those categories, just know that like after it gets really, really hard, that's when you take those two steps forward. And you might take a little bit back. It might be a couple months of pain, and then you're back to that. And so I always just live by that, and that's why I try not to take the one step. Like it's almost like part of the process. Two forward, one
Right.
back, two forward, one back. If you go three or four forward, you might take one or two steps back. It might even be three back, and so you just know that that's probably going to come, but keep pushing forward. And so that's really where I see myself in all those areas, and it's kind of cool to think about. And every now and then I like will take a walk or sit in a chair and just breathe, and that's what I think about some mornings too when I meditate and so on.
Right. So we just talked 10 years in the future, but thinking back 10 years ago when you were 22, I'm 25, I just turned 25. I'm always
Yeah.
looking for the advice to maybe move one of those steps forward. What advice would you have to like your 22-year-old self or, the 22-year-old listening right now?
If I had to put in one sentence, it would be that you always overestimate what you could do in 1 year, but you couldn't even imagine what you can do in 10.
I like that. I like that, especially being that like I'm in the 10 years to being 32 or 30
Sure.
is the number I'm looking at in my head where it's like what am I going to do in the next 5 years, right? Like
Sure.
so I like that. That's a good quote. Um, last two questions here. Where can people get connected with you? How can people get involved with Dan Schlein and get to know you more?
Probably the easiest spot is LinkedIn. I mean, I post every single day. You easily, when you follow me for a little bit, can pop on our new newsletter, can schedule time with us, can just learn about what we're doing, who we're serving. Um, if you're not a LinkedIn fan, I have a Facebook business page. And honestly, I live in Williamsville and I'm around Buffalo all the time. So if you're local, we can always get together and chat. I'll make sure our not only bookings link, but also like my phone number's in the
Yeah,
link.
I'll throw it in the
Yeah.
description. And then last is if you could come into this world with everybody knowing one piece of advice to go out throughout their entire life and get this one shot better than that they might have, right? We only get one shot at this. What one piece of advice? It's similar to the 10 years ago question, but
I don't know if like I've been getting primed for the last couple weeks for this question, but like there's only one theme that just popped into my head when you asked it. And it is, I think one of the biggest things that's underestimated is the power of actually getting good sleep. And I know we didn't touch on this at all. I don't know if I've listened to like 12 podcasts that's touched on this week or last week, but like it is literally the difference maker. If I get consistently good sleep, I can literally pretty much weather anything. I don't really even need caffeine. I'm literally rocking and rolling. I'm in the
Yeah.
best mood. I'm like, Cassie literally is like, I'm a ball of light to be around. It's all like great, right? If I get good sleep. If I don't, I like get, I need more caffeine. I'm more tired, more cranky,
Mm.
more reactive, and so on. So if anybody can process that, like all they would have to do is focus on good sleep, their cravings would go down. Their intake would be better. They would be literally a better human on a lot of different fronts. So we're gonna go with that today.
I like that. I was not expecting that answer
Yeah,
either. So that's great. I would imagine other people listening wouldn't either. So thanks for being on the podcast. I appreciate it. This was fantastic.
it's awesome. That was fun.
Thanks.
This material contains the current opinions of the presenter, but not necessarily those of Guardian or its subsidiaries, and such opinions are subject to change without notice. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not to be construed as tax, legal, or investment advice. Although the information has been gathered from sources believed to be reliable, please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should be relied upon only when coordinated with individual professional advice. Guardian, its subsidiaries, agents, and employees do not provide tax, legal, or accounting advice. Consult your tax, legal, or accounting professional regarding your individual situation. Daniel Schlein, registered representative and financial advisor of Park Avenue Securities LLC, PAS. Securities products and advisory services offered through PAS. Member FINRA, SIPC. Financial representative of the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, Charter, Guardian, New York, NY. PAS is a wholly owned subsidiary of Guardian. Alliance Financial Network Inc. is not an affiliate or subsidiary of PAS or Guardian. CA insurance license number 4136642. Submission number 8734812.1. Expiration number 0228.